and then I'm going to get into the math lab. So y'all, question 1, they just want to know, is that even, odd, or neither? I'm going to make that a little bigger for you. So if it's even, symmetric to the y-axis. If it's odd, symmetric to the origin. And those were the one where we turned them upside down to look. And then you got neither. Also, if it's even, it'll touch the x-axis an even number of times. If it's odd, it'll touch the x-axis an odd number of times. So it looks like this is touching the x-axis over here at -1 and at +1. So it's touching the x-axis twice. And it is also symmetric to the y-axis. So y'all, we're going to go with even on that. All right, y'all, let me let a few in real quick. All right, y'all, so then we go to number 2 here. This is the transformations. So they want to know what is happening by them adding 1 to that x and then adding 4 at the end. So first, we had 7 basic graphs. So I see an exponent of 2 on this one. So I know this basic graph is my x squared. So I punch in x squared for the basic graph. Now, the 1 is inside the parentheses with the x. That's either going to go left or right. So remember, this one's backwards what you think. So by adding 1 to that, it's actually going to make it go left, the 1 unit. So you click the arrow and we'll put in left. And then to add 4 at the end, that's either going to go up or down. Well, remember, positive goes up at the end, negative goes down. So since that's a +4, it's going to go up. So remember, inside the parentheses, left or right. Numbers added to the end of the function, up or down. So y'all remember, we put our moves in, and then I'm going to click to enlarge the graph. So that was an x squared graph. So you're going to use the U-shaped x squared tool. Click it, and then click anywhere on the graph you want. It'll always start it at the center. So the +1, I said, move me left 1. So that'd be horizontal. So I'm going to move horizontal to -1 for left. And then +4, we said went up 4. So that'll be vertical. So the vertical, I'm going to move to +4. Now it's done all the moves I need. So we would save that and then move on. And y'all, you can graph these on your calculator, and it should look just like the graph we got over here, okay? All right, so number 3, the basic graph they're telling you is the square root of x. So what's happening to it when I add 3 to the x? Now, y'all, since the +3 is underneath the square root radical, it's just like it was in parentheses. So that move is either going to move us left or right. So remember, since we're adding 3, it's actually going to move us left. So you would click the arrow down and choose left, and then it's moving it left those 3 units. So now we got to figure out, is A left, is B left, is C left, or did D go left? Well, remember, the square root always started in the center, and y'all, the only one that looks like it went left would be A over here. So it moved left on that x-axis, okay? B went right, C went up, and D went down. So we would definitely choose A on that and for moving left. And once again, you could graph that on your calculator to actually get the visual of that graph. And this is the same thing. The only thing here, we don't have to graph it. So they're telling us we're starting with the x squared graph. So then they say shifted blank units. So it's either left 6, right 2, right 6, or left 2. Well, we know the 2 at the end is going up or down. So that 6 is either going to make me go left or right. This time, since it's being subtracted, let me see what chat's got going on. All right, so chat, you are saying right 6. Perfect, because you're subtracting. It's going to move it right 6. So we're going to choose a right 6 down here. And then reflect it across the what? Now remember, there's only one axis we reflected anything across in this section. And y'all, the only answer y'all can put on that is going to be the x-axis. Never put the y-axis on that one. So there you go, Paris has got it. And then that plus 2 at the end, what's that doing to me? Down 2, down 6, up 2. All right, Paris, good job, up 2. So y'all, that's it. We went right 6 because of the negative 6. We reflected it because the negative in the very front, and then we shifted it up 2 because of our plus 2, and then we hit next. All right, so we're going to find the zeros, and on this one, I'm actually going to work this on my paper here. So let me write down the problem. I got f of t equals t squared plus 10t plus 24. So let me share my pad here. So on this one, I would just set this equal to 0 and factor it. So number 5 will be factorable for you. Now, if you want to, you can use a quadratic formula on this. A would be 1, B would be 10, C would be 24. But y'all, this is pretty quick to factor. So it's at 2 sets of parentheses. The t squared, you're going to have a t in front of both parentheses. And since this last number is positive, when this number is positive, both of these factors will have the same sign as this middle number. So basically, they're both going to be positive. Now, the trick to this problem, find factors of 24 that add to get 10. So factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. The only set of factors that add to get that 10 are going to be 4 and 6. So you're going to put them in. So now that it's factored, we're going to set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve for the variable. Now, y'all, so your trick, every one of these I've seen have pretty much been positive and positive, so that your factors are both positive. Now, if you do end up with a negative in the middle and a positive at the end, both of these factors would be negative at that point, okay? So the last sign being positive means that both factors had the same sign as that middle. All right, now to solve this for the two answers, I'm going to subtract 4. And I get t is a negative 4. And in here, I would subtract 6 and get t is a negative 6. So we would go back to our math lab and put in, well, we get negative 4 and negative 6. Now this one, you don't have to put anything but your two answers, negative 4, comma, negative 6. All right, y'all, then you're going next. Now the next one, you got to use the quadratic formula. So let me write this one down. F of x equals 2x squared minus the x plus 9. Y'all, this one will not factor, so you're definitely going to have to work it out with the quadratic formula. So here we go. So let me write my formula here that I'm about to use for the quad. So negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Now, I will say this one, every time I've done it, ended up being negative under the radical, so I'm going to get imaginary answers on it. And watch how we got to write these answers in this one, okay? So let's get A, B, and C. A will be a positive 2. B will be a negative 1. And C will be a positive 9. So y'all, at this moment, I'm just going to start plugging numbers in for my A, B, and C over here. So x equals negative. So you got to write that negative no matter what. Then put in b, which is a negative 1. So I'm only using parentheses to separate the two signs there. And then plus or minus square root. Well, b squared will be negative 1 squared. Make sure you put your negatives in parentheses every time. Minus 4 times my a, which is 2, and my c, which is 9. All of that over. The bottom is what? 2 times a, which is 2. So now just start simplifying this. So the first thing on the outside, those two negatives, make that a positive 1. Plus or minus. Under my square root, negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. And y'all, all these three things right here are being multiplied. So this is like negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8. And then negative 8 times 9 is a negative 72 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. All right, so can't do nothing else on the outside until we finish with our little radical here, okay? So we're going to come down 1 plus or minus. Well, I can do one more operation under here. So 1 minus 72 will give me a negative 71. All that over my 4. All right, y'all. We got to play with this radical here on the side. I got a square root of a negative 71. Now remember, my perfect squares were 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. And that's probably high enough on those for this one. So 71 will not divide by 4. It won't divide by 9. It's not dividing by 16. It's not dividing by 25. It's not dividing by 36. And all these numbers are starting to get too big. So it's not going to divide by any of the perfect squares. But y'all, you got to do one thing to that. We cannot leave that negative under that radical. So that's where I said, well, we're going to write this as negative 1 times 71. Now, do y'all remember what I'm going to replace that square root of negative 1 with on this problem? Because remember, we can't take the square root of negative 1 in the real world, but we will replace that with something. All right, y'all, I see my chat lighting up. Let me see. So the I, good job, y'all. So we're going to replace it with the I so that this becomes the I square root of 71. So we'll plug that in now. 1 plus or minus I square root of 71 over 4. So if you'll notice, you're probably not going to be able to simplify your radical other than bringing out that negative as the I. All right, so now since you got imaginary stuff here, they want us to split this into two fractions. So y'all, you're going to put the 1/4 first. So first fraction will be 1/4, and then plus or minus. And then my second fraction will be I square root of 71 over the 4. So we're just splitting it apart, putting both of these parts in the numerator over that 4. Now, I'm going to write it in like this, or you could do 1/4 plus or minus square root of 71 over 4, and then put your I at the end of that. You cannot put the I on top under the radical, but you can put it after the fraction, okay? So either way on that'll work. So let's go plug that into MathLab and see what we get. So y'all, the first thing on this, I want to hit the fraction bar and put in my 1/4. So I got a 1 on top, arrow down and put in my 4. Then I'm going to arrow to the right and use the plus or minus. That way we only got to write the answer once instead of twice. So the plus or minus saves us on that. Then hit the fraction again. And I'm going to put in my I and then grab the square root, put in my 71. And then I'm going to arrow down to the bottom and put in my 4. So y'all, it will take it like that. Or let me go back on the top and erase the I and come out to the outside here. See how I'm blinking after the fraction? And you can put in the I right there. As long as the I is not under the square root, you can put it in front of it or behind, okay? All right, y'all see they don't mind it like that, okay? So either way. All right, y'all, so this one, we're just going to look at this graph and write these answers out real quick. Let me make it a little larger. So the first thing I want to know, what are my x-intercepts? And it says under there, you got to type the x-intercepts as an ordered pair. So the first question, the first dot on the left side, what is that ordered pair? All right, so I'm looking for my chat. My chat ain't lighting up yet. So right where my cursor is, that first point, what would y'all write that as an ordered pair? So we know it's going to be in parentheses. So that x value on that is going to be the -2 and then comma 0. So the x-intercept always has a y value of 0 because that's where it's crossing the x-axis. And then after you close those parentheses, put a comma, and we're going to do the next point. Well, the next point's on the right side, sitting at that 4. So that means it's got an x value of 4, and still it has a, whoops, what happened there? So an x value of 4, comma, y value 0 again. That's why these are called zeros and solutions, because the y value is 0 where they cross over that x-axis, okay? Now, those are the x-intercepts. What would be the solutions? Because we said that the solutions are equal to the x values of the x-intercepts. So if I was to graph this and it went right through them 2 points, I know my solution. My solution would be, let me see what y'all are saying. So it's definitely going to be the -2 and the -4 and the 4. So come in and put -2, comma 4. So this one, just realize you got to put the x-intercepts in as ordered pairs, okay? All right, so y'all, we got that. We go to the next one. Oh, one of y'all's favorite ones. It's got the ladder. So this is what, number 8? So let me write down the information and then we will work this one out. So we got a ladder leaning on the wall, it looks like. The foot of the ladder is 9 feet from the wall. And then the ladder's leaning on the wall. And they're telling me the height that it reaches on the wall and the length of that ladder are consecutive integers. Okay, so let me go to our page, and all they want to know, y'all, is how long is the ladder, okay? So far, I'm 9 feet from the wall for the foot of my ladder. And then the height it reaches on the wall here and the length of that ladder were consecutive integers. So remember, if the height it reaches on the wall is x, then a consecutive integer would be x plus 1. Now realize that makes one of those right triangles, okay? Y'all, everybody's problem will be an x here. It'll be an x plus 1 here. The only difference on all of our problems will be that 9. They might put a 7 there or a 5. But you better start it out just like that on the sides. X and x plus 1, okay? So, you remember what formula I'm about to use. We're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, the longest side, your ladder, has to be the c side. And then the 9 can be my a, and the x can be what I put in for my b. But the longest side, the x plus 1, has to be the c. So let's fill in. A was going to be 9, so I got 9 squared plus b, which is x, so that'll give me x squared. That's going to equal to c squared, which is x plus 1 squared. At this point, the only difference will be this number here. Everything else will match up with what I got, okay? So 9 squared, that's 9 times 9 is 81. We can't do nothing with the x squared, so we would bring that down. But y'all, the x plus 1 squared, I'm going to FOIL that on the side. Now, whatever I get here for x plus 1 squared, y'all are going to get the same thing for y'all's x plus 1 squared. So let's FOIL this out and see what we get. So I'm going to do the x times x and get an x squared. Then I'm going to take this x times 1, and I get a 1x. I'm going to move inside to the 1. 1 times x is another 1x. And then the 1 times 1 is 1. So you would add the 2 x's in the middle so that you get your x squared plus, well, 1x plus 1x gives us 2x. And then at the end, bring down our 1. So we replace the x plus 1 squared with that. So we get an x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now we start trying to solve for x, but when we try to move these x squareds, and I don't care which one you try to move, but when you move them by subtraction, look what's happening to all the x squareds. These x squareds will cancel here, and these x squareds will cancel there. So anytime you got the same variable on either side of the equals, y'all, when you move them, they're always going to cancel. So what's left for us is our 81. And over here, our 2x plus 1. So y'all check this out. The only difference at this point will be the 81. that I got from the 9 squared. If you had a 7 squared, you're going to get a 49 equal to this. 5 squared, you would have 25 equal to this. Your 2x plus 1 will match my 2x plus 1, okay? So then you're going to solve it for the x. So subtract 1 from both sides. And that's going to give me 80 equals my 2x, because those ones are going to cancel. Divide both sides by 2. And y'all look at that. 80 divided by 2 gives me 40. Those 2's cancel, making a 1x on that side. So the x is 40, but they want to know how long is the ladder. Well, y'all, that ain't the ladder over here where x was. X is 40. The ladder is 40 plus 1, which gives us an answer of 41. So remember, when you get that x, add a plus 1 to that so that you get full credit on that, okay? Now, say you do your test and you put in 40 instead of 41 by mistake. When you review your test after you submit it, it'll let you review it. If you made that mistake, email me because I can give you partial credit on that, okay? All right, y'all, so let's go put that in there for number 8. So my ladder was 41. And so you can check these on my end. And there you go. They want you to just not worry about the x, add that 1 and get me a ladder, okay? All right, y'all, I'm going to make this graph bigger. Now, they're giving us the vertex, that -3, 3 that's in parentheses. That's your vertex. So you automatically got A. A is given to you. A, they're giving us the vertex. So that would be the -3, 3. Remember, got to keep it in parentheses. Then the axis of symmetry. Y'all watch what I do here. Because remember, it says type an equation. Well, that's going to be x equals. So y'all, which number would I put for my axis of symmetry? X equals what? So y'all light my chat up. Because if you remember, I used one of those for the axis of symmetry, them 2 points in the vertex, and I used one of them for the min or maxes. All right, so y'all a little shy on that. Okay, I'm going to go with that -3. Good job, Jamin. Good job. So x equals -3. So the line of symmetry is always x equals the x value of the vertex. All right, so Jamin, get this one in. What's the minimum or maximum value of that function? And this one, I'm just wanting a number. Oh, y'all, I don't need question marks. You know it's going to be 3. There you go. So the 3, the y value is your min or max values. The x value is the line of symmetry. Okay, y'all? All right, so let's move on. So I don't mind that one because they're pretty much giving you the information. Now, in a little bit, we'll have to actually do our vertex formula. So let's see what y'all say on this, because we did some of these problems like number 2 and number 3 a while ago. They're giving me a graph. H of x equals x plus 4 squared. Can be obtained by translating the basic graph of h of x equals x squared left 4 units. So is that plus 4 going to move me left and be true? Or would it move me right and be false? So light that chat up, y'all. So what are we looking at? Oh, true or false on this one? Oh, so I'm getting a true there. Another true. Well, good job. Y'all are definitely right. When you add, it moves it left. So we're going to say true on that. So y'all, not bad. That's all we're looking at on those. Okay, so let me write this one down because this one is where we're going to do all the work on the vertex. So let me write this problem down. It's f of x equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. So let's see what they want me. They want the vertex. Determine if there's a min or max and a value. So min or max. And we'll know the min or max, remember, by the A. A is positive, we got a min. A is negative, we got a max. And then they want the range. And then the intervals of increasing and decreasing. But all those information they're wanting can be found once we got that vertex, okay? So let's go back and find our vertex. And then I'll show you how to put some of these in, like the range. The range is a little picky. So look, A, B, and C. Well, A is 1. B is that 6. And C is 8. So I know that on this one, since my A is positive, I'm going to have a minimum. Okay? So a minimum because this A is positive. If it was negative, yours would be flipped over and be a maximum, okay? So let's get this vertex point right here, because once I got that point, that's going to help me do the min and max. It'll help me do the range and the increase and decreasing. So remember how I got my x value? So let's put our formula, negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. So we find the x value, then we plug the x value into here to get the y. So the x is negative b over 2a. So that'll be negative. Well, my b is positive, so I'm putting that in. And then 2 times 1. So that's going to make this a negative 6 on top over a positive 2, which gives me a negative 3. So I know my first x value is negative 3. Now, the negative 3 will help me with my intervals of increase and decreasing, remember, because when we do increase and decreasing, we want the starting x and the ending x's, and the beginning x and the ending x's. So the 3 will help us on the increase and decreasing. The range will be determined by the y values. So it'll equal whatever we get here will be our minimum range value, and then they go up. So let's find y by finding f of our negative 3. So I'm going to put a negative 3 in and square it, plus my 6 times negative 3 plus 8. All right, y'all, let's see. Negative 3 times negative 3 gives me a 9. Here I got 6 times negative 3, which is a negative 18, and then plus our 8. All right, y'all, adding this together, 9 minus 18 is negative 9, and that negative 9 plus 8 gives us a negative 1. So I know the y value is negative 1, which means negative 1 is going to be the smallest y value for the range. And then that range is going to go upwards because my graph goes upwards, okay? So we got pretty much what we need here. So let's go and plug this stuff in. So for the vertex, ordered pair, remember, parentheses, that was -3, comma, -1. Now, if I go down here, they want to know, determine whether it's a maximum or minimum. Well, we said since the A was +1, we had a minimum. So positive was minimum, so I go with B. And then the minimum value is the Y value of -1. Now, don't let them mess you up because they didn't ask for the line of symmetry on this one. So remember, the min or max values are the Y values, okay? Now, the range, I always start from the bottom and go up. So I start with the minimum value I had on mine, which was -1, and then it's going to go up to positive infinity. Now, y'all listen, if yours is flipped over and you got a max, going from bottom up, you're going to start from -infinity and go to whatever your Y value is. But mine's a minimum. Now, listen, you got to put brackets around the number on the range. So the smallest Y value was -1. But remember, I got a bracket because it includes that -1, okay? And then it's going to be comma. And y'all, if I keep heading up and up and up, I'm headed towards positive infinity. Now, infinity always has to have parentheses, okay? So on your range, you're going to have bracket and parentheses. So scroll up. So let's see, like that. Okay. So y'all notice, once you got the vertex, the minimum value will be the Y value. The range is the Y stuff. So the minimum and the range have to both have that -1, okay? Now, these next few questions, increasing and decreasing, are going to determine by the X. So y'all, let me show you something. I'm going to go back to my paper a second. So here's my graph up here. It's increasing on the right side over here. So if it starts increasing at that -3, what are we increasing as we head out to what on the X's? Well, we're headed to the right. So we say we're headed towards positive infinity. So notice the X value of the vertex is going to be the X value on your increasing. So look at decreasing. Decreasing is this side of that parabola. So you got to figure out what are these X's starting in over here on the left and where is they ending at? Well, I know it's ending at the -3 because that's where it stops going downhill. But remember, it's coming in from negative infinity. And it's going downhill until I get to that X value that was -3. So notice, one will go from negative infinity to -3. The other one will go from -3 to infinity. Whatever y'all's X value is, will be put in here on this increasing and decreasing. So we would put those in. Let's see. So y'all, increasing, like I said, was the right side, and it started at -3 and went to our positive infinity. And then it decreased on the left side of my graph. So that one came in from negative infinity until our -3. Okay? Notice these will hook up in the long run. So I'm decreasing negative infinity, -3, and then I'm increasing from -3 to infinity. There's no gaps in it. They sort of hook together, okay? All right, questions on that yet? All right, y'all. So then we hit next. And I think next is my rocket one. Let's see. Yeah. So look here. All we're concerned with is that equation. We don't care about the launching pad, all that. They're just telling you how they got the equation. What we're worried about is that h of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 32t plus 7. So this is another vertex formula. So they want to know, when does it reach maximum height and what is the maximum height? So I'm going to use my vertex formula, negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. Because y'all, what I got is my rocket. It's going to go up in the air. It's going to reach a maximum height, and then it's going to come back down. So we're looking for that maximum height and how long it took it. So when you find a negative b over 2a, that's going to be the time. And since this is h of t, when we find f of this negative b over 2a, that'll be the height. So the x value for the time it takes going out, and then the y value for how high it went, okay? So this was using our vertex formula with everyday type problem. So let's get A, B, and C. A is negative 16. And C, since A was negative, we had a maximum on this one, right? Not a minimum, but a maximum. All right, y'all, B was 32, and C is 7. So I'm going to get the time. The time is negative B over 2A, which will be a negative times negative, a negative times 32 over 2 times my A, which is a negative 16. All righty, so let's see what I get on top. Negative 32. Oh, look at that. On the bottom, 2 times negative 16 is a negative 32. And y'all, negative 32 divided by negative 32 is a positive 1. So it took my rocket 1 second. Ooh, that went quick, didn't it? 1 second to reach maximum height. Now, listen, if you get a decimal here, like a 1.5 or a 2.5, it will take the decimal answer. So put that into MathLab, okay? Now, the height was going to be h of 1. So that'll be negative 16 times 1 squared plus 32 times 1 plus 7. Now, if you got a 1.5 or something, I would put that in here and then probably just punch it in on my calculator. This one won't be bad since I didn't have a decimal. But like I said, if I did get a decimal, I'm using my calculator, okay? All right, y'all, let's see what I get. 1 squared, that's 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times negative 16 is a negative 16. Then I got 32 times 1, which is 32. And then at the end is my plus 7. So let me add them together. Negative 16 and 32 give me 16. And 16 plus 7 is, what's that? 23. Oh, so my rocket didn't have, oh my God. My rocket only went 23 feet in the air. So 1 second, 23 feet. So I had a dud, okay? But like I said, if you get a decimal here, put the decimal in place of the 1 and punch it in on the calculator like it looks, okay? So 1 and 23. Y'all, that ain't very nice, because the other day I had a rocket that went up to like 200 and something feet. You know? All right, so 1 and 23 on that one. Y'all good on that one? All right, so let's see what we got. All right, so domain, I'll write this one down real quick. So this is number 13. And they want the domain of f of x equals square root 5x plus 2. Now, do not pick D on this question. If you pick D, it's going to mark you wrong. All right, so let's go and work this. So y'all, the thing about these radicals, we said that the bottom stuff, the stuff inside the radical, we take that 5x plus 2, and we said that that had to be greater than or equal to 0. That way it keeps it positive under there. Okay, so it can equal 0 because square root of 0 is 0, but it ain't allowed to be negative under the radical. So that's why we say it's got to be greater than or equal to that 0. And then you're going to solve this. Solve it for the x. So subtract 2. That's going to bring down my 5x. The 2's cancel. Greater than or equal to negative 2. Remember, I'm now going to divide by 5 on both sides. Since I'm dividing by positive 5, I will not reverse that inequality. I'm going to keep it the same. If I did divide by negative, then I would have flipped it around, okay? So y'all, these 5's cancel, give me a 1x greater than or equal to a negative 2/5. So they should have one answer that looks like that. And the only thing they're changing is the greater than and the less than stuff, I'm pretty sure. So let's look. Yeah, they all got negative 2/5. So the first one was less than, which is wrong. The second one, you're not going to choose the not equals ever. And then the third one was just greater than or equal, like I needed. Okay. So you're either going to be choosing a less than equal or a greater than equal on number 13. Do not pick not equals, and do not pick that x can be any real number, because that's definitely false, okay? All right, y'all, what's 14 got? I think 14 we're just looking at graphs. Now this is almost like the one I did earlier. Remember, the basic graph for the square root starts in the center. So what is that plus 3 doing to my graph? And remember, you're treating it like it's inside parentheses. So is it going to move it to the right like A did? Is it going to move it up like B did? Is it going to move it, well, hell, that got flipped around. Ain't nothing going to flip them around, so there's no way it could be C. Or is it going to move it left like D did? So let's see what chat's saying. So y'all are saying left, good job. Remember, when we add inside that radical, it's like it's in parentheses, and it's going to move it left. And, well, A went right, B went up, C, they flipped somehow. So, y'all, it's got to be D on that. So good job, y'all. Good job. Definitely went left. And if you look at it, D's the only one where it went left. All right, y'all, don't worry. We got another one of these. Now this one, I'm going to graph on my calculator. Because this one's really easier to do if you graph it on the calculator. And let's go to the calculator. That way I can show y'all. Whoops, let me get the problem first, y'all. I think it was what g of x was a square root of 2x minus 8. Now you could have graphed the last one on here also. Any of these graphs you can do on your calculator. So go to y equals and hit second x squared for your radical. Put in your 2x minus 8. And at that point, now let me show y'all the table real quick. Because remember, we said 2x minus 8 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Well, if you solve that, you see all these errors? That's because it's out of my domain. It looks like the smallest number I can put in for x is 4. And then anything bigger gives me nice numbers. But see, that's why it has to be greater than or equal to 0, because you get an error message for all that imaginary stuff. Okay, so we want to see the graph. And y'all look at that. The graph moved to the right about what, 4 units it looks like. So let's go. And remember, that's why my domain went from 4 and bigger. Anything less than 4 made it imaginary. So we going to look at which one of these went right. So A looks like they flipped it again. B looks like it went left. C, well, y'all, there's no way you're getting a straight line on the square root graph. So you better not pick the straight line at all. And then D, look at that. D looks like it went right. It looks like they're going by 2s. So if you go 2, 4, that's pretty much where our graph was starting at, was 4, just like that one. So we would pick D and move on. But y'all listen, on 15, do not pick the graph that turned left like A did, and do not pick that straight line. Eliminate them two automatically if you're going to guess, and make sure it's either B or D you're guessing at, okay? So then you got at least got a 50-50 shot. All right, y'all, this ain't bad. This one here. They want to know which one of them 3 equations, x squared, 4x, or x minus 3, would I use to find f of 1? Well, y'all, they got my domain up here. They told me if I use the x squared equation, x has to be less than -4. So let's see what chat's saying. So y'all are saying B. So y'all got a B. All right, so let's go through our domain. So I'm going to use the 4x if it's greater than -4 or equal to -4, but yet less than 1. Well, it didn't say equal to 1, did it? So let's see. Nancy, you got it, right? You got an x minus 3 because the last domain says my x can be greater than or equal to 1. So 1 does equal 1, so we're using that third equation, x minus 3. Good job, which is definitely RB. Good job, y'all. Now, remember, they're being tricky here because they could have did A, B, C in order. Notice how they put the B and C out of order for the 4x and the x minus 3. So, although it was the third one, don't come down here and pick C because the third one wasn't listed for C, okay? Math Lab's a little tricky like that. They try to mess y'all up. So definitely the x minus 3. Alrighty, let me make my graph bigger. And y'all, this problem, they're giving us everything I need because they're telling me that that dot is at a -5.5 and a 1.25 for the y value. And it is a hump. So a relative minimum or relative max, well, since that's a mountaintop or a peak, we know that's a relative max right there. So here's where you got to be careful. They say the relative maximum occurs at what x value? Well, y'all, that x value they're giving me, that's what, a -5.5? And has a value of, well, remember, the min or max values are those y coordinates, and that is what, a 1.25. So always get this one. You just got to think where they want the x at and then the value. Because sometimes, like I think the next problem, they go backwards on it. All right, y'all. So this one is on y'all. Where is this function increasing? A, B, C, or D? All right, chat. Y'all are lighting up now. So I'm getting a lot of B's. So let me see what B is. Perfect. Y'all stayed with the X's. Perfect. And it's starting on the left side, going uphill as I come in from negative infinity until I get to that X value, negative 5.5. So good job, y'all. So we putting B. Well, if it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 5.5, what are y'all picking for my decreasing? All right, chat's lighting up again. Let's see what y'all got.
Is it B?
A B again? So let's see. So B, yeah, y'all, it's starting at that negative 5.5. And if you head out to the right, you're definitely headed towards positive infinity. So we'll already are lighting that up with a B, it looks like. Good job, everybody. Perfect. So just remember, increase and decrease and stay away from them Y values, okay? All right, so we're going to have another one of these that'll have a couple. Oh, no, it didn't, did it? Okay, so let's see. 18. Y'all, let me write this one down because I got to find 4 values. H of negative 9, H of a negative 2, H of 1, and then H of 2. And I got H of X, and what I got? 3 equations, negative 3x minus 13. For any x is less than negative 6, it equals 1 for negative 6 less than or equal to my x less than 1. And then it equals x plus 4 for any x's greater than or equal to 1. Now, I'm about to see the pattern on this one. But y'all, every time I did this one, I'm going to tell you a little trick. H of negative 9 went with the first equation. H of negative 2 will get the second equation. And then the H of 1 and H of 2 will both get the last equation. So it's been like first number, second number, and then the last 2 numbers are always the last equation. So let's see if that's true. So H of negative 9. Well, definitely true for this one, right? Negative 9 is less than negative 6. So I would use the first equation. Now, they don't want me to write the equation. They want me to actually evaluate that. So take the negative 3, put your negative 9 in for the x, and then subtract 13. So you actually got to find the values on number 18 we're doing, okay? So negative times negative, 3 times 9 is 27, minus the 13, and what's that? 14 for that one. So h of negative 9 will be the 14. Then they want h of negative 2. Well, negative 2 is not less than negative 6. Remember, if you're looking at a number line, any number to the left of another number is smaller than that number. Well, negative 6 is here. And what am I looking at? Negative 2 will be right in here. So negative 2 is greater than negative 6 because it's to the right of it. So it's not there. So is that negative 2 in between negative 6 but less than 1? Well, yeah, because 1's over here. So it's definitely less than the 1. So I'm using the second equation. But y'all look at that. There's not a variable here. Anything that is in between that negative 6 and 1 automatically equals 1. That's like a little constant part of your graph going across. where all the values are going to be 1, okay? Then we hit h of 1. All right, y'all, so on y'all, what equation, and plug in that 1 and see what y'all get. So which equation are you using? And then what value? So if you give me the value, I can pretty much tell. So Nancy, I'm getting a 5. Yeah, because 1 is equal to 1. So you're definitely using the last equation. Jalen, y'all look like 5 is going to be it, right? Because I got to use the last equation, put a 1 in for the x. And y'all, 1 plus 4 is definitely positive 5. All right, well, how about see what y'all get for h of 2 then? Which equation y'all plugging it into and get me a value? Whoa, Chad, I can't keep up with Chad's rolling through here. Let me see what Chad's got. So I'm getting 6s on that. So good job, y'all. Because it's still greater than or equal to 1. So put a 2 in for the x. 2 plus 4. And we get a 6. Good job. So then you just go put them in. 14, 1, 5, and 6. All right, y'all. So we're down to number 19. So we're getting there. Now 19 and 20 are going to use that difference quotient that we did in last class. Now, no, I'm giving you the formula. So what are they giving us? F of x equals 9x plus 1. And the difference quotient, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. All right, so we're going to go work this one. Now, y'all, I ain't going to lie. For number 19, this is a fancy slope formula, but this equation is in this form because that's just the x there. So it's in this form, and the slope is whatever number's in front of the x. Well, the slope of this would be 9 according to this formula. Well, y'all, this ain't nothing but a fancy slope formula. So when I'm done, watch what this answer is. And it's always like this on number 19 because you're dealing with a straight line here, okay? All right, so remember, the first thing I got to find, they gave me f of x. The bottom's always h. So we got to find f of x plus h. So you're going to come down with your 9. You're going to put an x plus h in place of the x, and then your plus 1. All right, then you're going to distribute the 9. So you got 9 times x is 9x, plus 9 times h is 9h, and then bring down your plus 1. So remember, we didn't have any like terms, so at this point, I'm starting to plug stuff into my formula now. Oh, let me get one in, got knocked off. So f of x plus h is the 9x plus 9h plus 1. Minus the f of x was the 9x plus 1 they gave us. Oh, that's over that h. Now, you remember that we're going to drop the parentheses, but I'm going to distribute my negative through the second parentheses. So I get the 9x plus 9h plus 1 minus 9x minus a positive 1 all over h. But y'all, you also realized the other day, everything that comes out of the second parentheses is going to cancel out. All that we're going to have left at this point on top has to have an h in it, okay? So see this negative 9x cancels with the 9x. This negative 1 cancels with a positive 1. Y'all, all that's left on top is the 9h over the h on the bottom. And y'all look at that. Final step is to cancel every term on top by the h on the bottom. Well, look, them h's cancel, and look at that final answer. It equals 9, which is the slope of a straight line because it's the number in front of the x. So 19 is not too bad because you can almost pick out the slope right off the bat, okay? Now, I'm not going to lie, 20 is going to be a little trickier. So I'm going to let y'all write that in a second, and then I'll switch to to Math Lab. So number 20, I'm going to tell y'all is going to be our fun one, okay? All right, y'all, so this we said was a 9. Now, if it's a straight line, you can't have nothing else other than a number. You will not have any x's, and you will not have any h's on your answer. A single number for number 19. All right, y'all, but here's one. I hope y'all save some notes for this number 20. So we got f of x equals negative 8x squared plus a 6x plus 3. And we're still doing our difference quotients. So let's go have fun with this one, and I hope y'all saved something for us. Especially when I do my f of x plus h. That's where we need our stuff we saved in our notes. So y'all, f of x plus h, put an x plus h here and an x plus h there. So I got negative 8 times x plus h squared plus 6 times x plus h plus 3. And y'all will start out the same. The only difference will be our numbers, okay? So y'all want to bring down my negative 8, because the first thing I got to do is square this x plus h squared. So y'all, I hope y'all wrote down our notes the other day. What does x plus h squared give me? Well, remember when we FOILed it out in our notes, we got an x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. Everybody will replace x plus h squared with this. Now I'm going to bring everything else down because all I did on that step was squared that x plus h. Now, y'all, at this point, you're going to distribute the negative 8 through the first parentheses and the 6 through the second parentheses, and then we'll bring down our 3. So we get negative 8x squared. Negative 8 times 2 is a negative 16hx. Negative 8 times h squared is a negative 8h squared. Then here, 6 times x is 6x. 6 times h is 6h. And then at the end, bring down your positive 3. All right, y'all, look at that. No like terms at all. So you're going to use that whole thing as your f of x plus h. So let's plug into the formula. Negative 8x squared minus 16hx minus 8h squared plus 6x plus 6h plus 3. All of that minus f of x, which they gave us, negative 8x x squared plus 6x plus 3. And y'all, that is all over our h. Now, I'm going to save you time from having to write this all again, because we know that these three things are going to cancel with the same three things on the left side. Because remember, that negative is making that a negative times negative is 8x squared. The 8x squared is going to cancel with the negative 8x squared. This 6x is really a negative 6x. Well, that's going to cancel with this positive 6x. And guess what? That negative 3 is going to cancel with that positive 3. Everything always cancels on the second parentheses. All that's left at this point are those h terms. So y'all, negative 16hx minus a 8h squared plus a 6h all over h. So y'all, to finish me out, chat me up this final answer simplified. I want to make sure y'all can simplify that now. And I'll give y'all a little bit of time on that because it's a little longer. All right. Well, chat's already got one. Let's see. So let's see. I got a negative 16x. Yes, because the h's cancel on the first one. So you got negative 16x. All right, y'all. Then y'all were saying negative 8h. Exactly, because you had two h's. One canceled. So that left us a negative 8h. And then y'all, right here, yeah, the last h, that h canceled, leaving us a positive 6. Oh, y'all, perfect. Good job on that, because y'all's final answers will be the same form as this. You'll have an x with a number, an h with a number, and then just a number at the end, okay? So these ones always worked out really similar. Now, y'all, did you notice? If you really notice, when you got to this point right here, all you had to do was get rid of the stuff that didn't have a h in it, put it over to h, and then simplify, okay? You'll find shortcuts to where you don't have to sit and write that stuff as much. But y'all, not bad. Listen, I extended the test due date till the 24th. Okay, since I missed that class. So I extended it till the 24th. So I want y'all to really knock out that study guide and do good on it first before you knock out that test. But remember, the study guide and the test are the same thing, basically, okay? They're in the same order, same type problems, everything. So let me see. Now, when I send the email later, the ones I won't show to work on this one were 5, 6, 11, and 20. So just 4 on this one, okay? And then you can text them or email them to me. And let's see. Oh, also, I'm sending out a bonus question. And the bonus question, you can email me back. But I'll put this in the email also. But on the bonus, you're going to find me the zeros of f of x equals x squared plus 3x minus 10. And I'll actually, if you want to copy it now, you'll email me that back sometime before the due date on the test, and that'll be towards 5 points for it. So that's half a letter grade, okay? So I can turn 100 into a 105. I can turn 85s into 90s, 65s into 70s, and so on, okay? And you can use any method. You can factor that. You can use a quadratic formula. You can graph it and look for the x-intercepts. Any way that you can find me the two solutions, okay? Or the zeros. But yeah, I will send that out when I'll send out these details when I send out your video later. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen. All right, y'all, what questions y'all have?
Is the test timed?